Hey, today's guest, Stephanie Turek. Yes, today's live number 411 or 412 with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek, who can't do math anymore, apparently. No, coming at you, as always, every Tuesday right here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47. And yes, Trekland Treks, your backstage trek, your customized away team to visit the actual filming sites of Southern California from Star Trek. All that much fun at LarryNemecek.com. Hey, welcome back. It's another Tuesday for some sanity, clarity, and a bigger picture in all things Star Trek. And I always love it when we have a guest day. You don't have to hear me drone on and on. We get somebody else in. If you're watching this later, not live on YouTube, keep the conversation going. The live folks are here in the chat, but you can keep the commentary going. Maybe you can join us some afternoon Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern-ish, as I always say. So it's glad to be back with you. We've been talking about San Diego. We talked about Star Trek Las Vegas. I was looking forward in the day, San Diego Comic-Con weekend, to hopefully putting this together. And can I proclaim this? Can I just say this is an exclusive? I think it is. Why don't I bring our guest in now? This is Stephanie Turek. Boom. Hi, Stephanie. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited. I was going to say this is an exclusive because I know you've done some press a little bit, but I don't think anybody's actually done an interview with you about the incredible Star Trek street dance. I say street dance, that wasn't a folk event. They weren't out there clogging. I mean, it was choreographed. It was like not a dream ballet, but it was an homage to the first 4 episodes of Star Trek, right?
Yes.
This season, Strange New Worlds.
Yes, that's exactly right. It was inspired by the first 4 episodes of season 3.
Well, I think when we edit this, I may chop in some of the footage. I didn't want to take any of our time away, but it's been viral. I shot an entire first performance over by the Paramount Lodge, and then I was going to shoot stills, and then was surprised when they brought the Strange New Worlds cast out that was on hand, and they enjoyed it. And so I wound up shooting them watching you for the second time with a lot of cute moments. Chrissy and Jess Bush jumped out with the dancers at one point. I know that.
Yeah, they were into it. It was really fun.
Yeah, I'll shut up any minute now, but I just was gushing about this because I'll tell you, and I'll tell everybody, I think I may have mentioned this. I saw the announced plans for Star Trek for San Diego Comic-Con. And of course, San Diego, it's a multi-genre thing. Star Trek gets a little slice of all the big boys that are there. And every year, the corporation, since the comeback, I guess, has tried to have a big splash and have a museum or an exhibit show. And this year and I'll just tell everybody, this year with all the things kind of in flux with Paramount, I wondered how much budget and how much attention they'd obviously make a splash. They had their Hall H big show. But I wondered how much sidebar there would be. And I saw, there's a street dance, there's a street performance of choreography. And I was like, oh, and I think I told you in back of my head, I was like, oh, is this going to be another, the Starship is landing, but for dance? Like, is this going to be another think tank focus group came up with something to do? So I went over to take some pictures and wasn't expecting anything. And suffice to say, I was blown away. And I think everybody else was blown away, both by the performance and the care and the lead into it. Obviously, the work you put in rehearsal, but also the impact that it made and how unique it was and how it wasn't a dud. It was like, to me, it was one of the coolest parts of the whole weekend, especially for Trek. So, and I know a lot of our viewers, a few were there, but most people weren't. But thank goodness it went viral. The studio did a great job about capturing it. So I'm going to shut up now. I'm just curious. Number one, you're located in the Los Angeles area. Yes. Tell us about your studio and what you do, and then how this whole saga, did you go to Star Trek or did Star Trek come to you?
These are great questions. So I'm a part of a company called JFI Productions, and we specialize in immersive productions and live events. So we create our own IP, and we also get to do these crazy IP partnerships where we're able to bring IP to life put people into the game, into the show, into the movies, whatever it may be. And my best friend Justin, he started this company back in 2015, and he had a bucket list sort of dream to create a theater space that actually started in the Halloween vein. And we were really inspired by Sleep No More in New York City, and how that sort of takes audience in and really, immerses guests into the show. And so Justin collected some of his best friends, all in backgrounds of entertainment, hospitality, and was like, "Hey, I think we should make a splash in Los Angeles." So we started our first flagship show called Creep LA, and that has run for the last 10 years during the Halloween season. We also have our show The Willows, which is going to be returning again to Los Angeles in October. And that is our dinner theater show. And then Night Fever, my personal favorite, which is a dance forward nightclub theater show. So all that being said, those shows gained the notoriety and the attention of the studios. And they were like, "Hey, we like what you're doing, and we want to make that same splash with our own IP." So it's been really exciting to have these opportunities come about. CBS and Paramount Plus, specifically, we worked with them last October in a partnership for our Creep LA show, and we partnered with the show called Ghosts. And we were able to create a month-long activation that really was inspired by the show, and they just loved it. They loved that we were able to basically extend the world that they had already created. And when they saw that, they thought of another beloved IP, which is like the most beloved IP, Star Trek. And they came to us and they're like, "Hey, we want to make a splash at Comic-Con, and we also want to have it be something that can entertain people outside of those set activations." Because as you know, at San Diego Comic-Con, there's so many amazing things. There's so many set activations.
Right.
And so they were really aiming to create something that could entertain people outside of the hall, outside of the convention, in the streets of San Diego. And, everyone was like a little, hesitant about the term flash mob, because, it kind of gets a bad rap. But the beautiful thing about this particular season was that there were all these genres of each episode. It was just like calling us to create something that showcases that there is something for everyone here.
Okay. I have to stop you for a second.
Yes.
Because that's the next, and I want to keep hearing the saga. But as we get into this, and now you're there, are you, by any chance, are you, or is anyone else in the company a big Star Trek fan on some spectrum?
Yeah. Well, luckily it's because it's so iconic. I mean, everybody knows Star Trek, but my partner and Nikki Romanello, he is just a huge sci-fi fan, and he's totally in the Comic-Con scene, and he's also a fabulous dancer and actor. So he really helped me start to speak the lingo, because I thought I knew, but then I dove into it all and I was like, "Oh wow. This extends far beyond any universe, literally." So I got the crash course and I loved it. It was so fun.
Because that was, I mean, I thought it, and then I started thinking of the practical bits here. You all basically took 4 episodes, bits and pieces from 4 episodes, wove them together, did little homage moments, little honorings, and also some basic just Star Trek moments. From 4, as you said, it was great because there were such diverse genres that you had. The other thing that I thought was, and it was the 4 that the audience would have been familiar with up till that time if they were paying attention. So no spoilers. And it wouldn't have made sense if you're honoring something and everybody's like, "What was that about?" I don't know. So it had to be the 4, and they had doubled down with the first week. So you had 4 to play with. But the other thing I knew was this season had been done so long. They'd had these episodes ready so long ago that that you all had plenty of. I didn't know how much. That was my next thing. It's like, when did you start preparing, creating, rehearsing? And the thing that helped you here was those episodes have been in the can for months, I'm going to guess. So when did you actually? I mean, did you guys just get a blank check from the studio? And when did it start? When did you actually sit down and start working on the routine, the performance?
Yeah, we
Plan.
started around April with initial conversations. And, it's interesting because there was so many different languages that we were speaking. So we were speaking entertainment and dance and live shows, and their team was speaking Star Trek. And so it was kind of hard to put what we had in mind on paper, right? Like until you see the movement, until you see the choreography, until you feel the music, it's kind of hard to describe. So we really had to they put our trust in us, and I'm like, I promise it's gonna be cool. But one of the challenges that we had was that because we really wanted to make sure that this lived on social or wherever it may be, we really had to be careful about the music that we chose. So that was a challenge in all of this, to find music that could really emulate the different genres, but also be very careful about like using like any major hits. So we really had to search through the CBS library of music and find music that matched with each genre and felt full and big enough to truly hold and captivate an audience. So I would say the biggest challenge of this gig was to find the music, to make the
Huh.
mix.
Huh.
And luckily, we were also given the split tracks from the episodes. So we were able to take direct dialogue so that we were
Right.
able to sort of tell that story, and just make sure that we were really hitting those like major beats that were selling the worlds and selling, the zombie story and, and then, La'an and the Last Frontier. So, it was great, but the music was what was really important, and we wanted that wham song
Well,
that
sure. Yeah.
is in the episode. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, we have to have this song.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mention that there were the moments where you had just dialogue from the episodes and the actors were mouthing or at least pantomiming to it. And it did bring it home. And I know it resonated with the second performance. Now you had the first performance over by Petco in the performance space. And then this was more customized right in front of the Paramount Lodge. So it was like corporate home base. And to do
Yes.
that, but the second performance with the cast, I could see they were just, I say freaking out in a good way. They were just really going at it. So the music was the starting point. And then did you all sit down and just watch the 4 episodes and say, well,
Yep.
this is iconic. Let's grab this. The bit with the trench. I mean, because what we get to eventually is it was amazing just watching you all do the logistics, doing the stagecraft of the costume switches and the props, and then the wacky just street entertainment. Like there was the choreography, but you also had 2 or 3 characters. Your Andorian, who I thought was just dressed up as a stage tech, was also performing too. Was you had people aside from the choreographed couples. Does that make sense? So I'm just
Yes.
curious how it came together when you decided what to do. Did it flow easily after you had the music, or how'd that work?
Yes. So we really had to really create a story here. We needed a beginning, middle, and end. And one thing that I love about our company is that when we create these extensions of the worlds, we are all in it. So what you did see was our technical director, Ryan Donor. He was in full Andorian prosthetics. The director of our company and founder of our company, Justin Fix, he was also in full Andorian. So when we create these worlds, we don't want there to be any hiccups in people not believing that this is truly just Star Trek happening in front of them, right? So like that was really important to us, that it felt very organically, just true to the IP and true to the world. So basically how we did it, there was like a group of core dancers, true professional dancers. Our biggest note from the client was we really needed to be spot on with Spock and Captain Pike. So those were our 2 characters that we really wanted to hit home and really make sure that we did those 2 characters justice. And Spock specifically, Nick Young, who played our Spock, he is new to our company and auditioned for this particular project. And he had to put the wedding scene on tape for us. So he had to do that, the poem by Neruda wrote when Spock goes on and during the wedding, he had to put that on tape for us. And he's also more professional dancer, like dance forward as opposed to acting. And when I tell you that he was in Spock character all day long from beginning to end, I was so impressed. And that is what our company really tries to do, is we are just full on, full out, all the way off, no breaking character. And that was kind of the beauty. And then Captain Pike, obviously, Nikki, who helped choreograph and helped create the music mix, he was our Captain Pike. And they were emulating those characters so well. I was so pleased.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say the first one that struck me, they all did. And obviously you had makeup, you had him in Vulcan and all that. Yes. That kills me that he came in and especially auditioned for this, which tells me maybe he's just a little bit of a Trek fan himself.
Yes, I think so. And by the end of it, I think he was feeling the Spock vibes. He was feeling it.
Well, the thing that struck me, I mean, I remember this memory coming out, and I thought, well, is this going to be just a generic group? Before we saw how it was going to play out. And as they came out and got in position, because I would have talked about this too, the logistics of just doing the way that the staging, just the way it had to be in the middle of the street and pushing people back gently. I mean, that was wild watching that. And that maybe that's a common thing, or maybe that was a first time thing for you all. But I was going to say, as they came out, I couldn't help but notice you had a tall blonde who obviously was, and in white, who was obviously going to be Chapel, and you had Nuhura. And it was like, oh, and it's kind of hard to not to realize that there were going to be specific characters for specific things.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, well, I'm saying the women too, as well as Spock and Kirk, Pike and Spock, yes. All the characters. Eventually you ticked off, then you went, oh, okay.
Yes, we love to play in the same sandbox as all of those characters, and hopefully we did them justice, because they're also iconic and so much fun. Mm-hmm. But as far as the guest management and getting the people to move in the street, I mean, that is what our actors are actually specifically trained in doing, and not so much crowd management, but more just guest management, which is different. It's a form of hospitality, so people don't feel like it's aggressively.
They don't feel like a crowd,
right?
They feel like your audience. Like
they're part of it
in a theater.
Yeah, we wanted the crowd to feel engaged and feel with us in it and be a part of the performance just as much as we were.
Yeah, and just to tell everybody, I don't know if there's any video of this, but it was fascinating to watch. It's the Gaslamp Main Street there. I forget if it's 4th or 5th or whatever it is, but 6th. But the Paramount Lodge was the corporate home base. They had Star Trek and some other things this year. It wasn't all Star Trek, but that was the home base for it. And people are just in the street. There's people walking up and down because it's Gaslamp. And by then it was 4 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon. I forget what time, but it was mid-afternoon or later. And the street is full of people. Not all of them are there to see your show, and a lot of people have no idea, or they've come over to watch it. But even if they've come to see the performance, there's no clue to how it's going to stage, which way is front, where do we go, what do we do? And your people came out in costume, and it was kind of amazing. Starting in front of the lodge storefront, just slowly, you saw people in Starfleet uniforms, so people thought, oh, something's happening. And they just slowly, it's almost like when you see police doing a search across an empty field looking for clues. They just form a line, or even a protest line, but they just form the line, not locking arms, and gradually, as you said, house control, not crowd control, and just very calmly, and let people soak in, oh, this is where they're going to do this. They're going to do the show here. Oh, they're going to need this much space. Oh, they're going to need this much space. And basically pushed everybody, if not all the way to the other sidewalk, pushed everybody back, and then brought out the speakers, the columns, and all the tech gear. And people go, oh, okay, yeah, we get it. And then kind of set up the perimeter. And I could see specifically double checking, because you all had your routines. The choreography was marked out to a certain space, and everybody making sure that we didn't have any collisions at the perimeter. But I mean, so is that a common? Have you've done this kind of thing? You've done the, like you said, the world extensions, but have you done it in a street like that and that close up with people before?
I have before, but as far as the design and utilizing as much, our speaker system was completely mobile, so we didn't have any. It was completely wireless, so we had to make sure that everything that we had with us was completely mobile and movable from one space to the next performance space. So that was a huge challenge. Our huge prop boxes, those were filled with costumes and props, and
The
everything that we
bubble
needed
and
had. Yes,
yeah.
everything. Yes, everything had to be with us and able to just wheel around. And that was another fun part of this, was that we got to sort of parade. We got to do this like enterprise parade on the way to our
Oh,
performances. And we were in formation and in character as we were like lugging this heavy equipment, heavy machinery around San Diego Comic-Con. And as you know, it's hard to walk just by
well,
yourself
it's
down
immense.
there.
Oh, that's right. And you had the other site, so you had to leave Petco Field and come over to Gaslamp.
Yes, we had three different
Oh, okay.
locations. The first location was Fifth and K, and it was actually right. It was in this perfect thoroughfare that just opened right up to the Strange New Worlds epic billboard that was on that
Oh, okay.
hotel. Yeah, so that was sort of our backdrop for our first two, and then we went over to Petco, and then we went over
Oh, I
to
didn't
Paramount.
realize about the first. I think I only saw the latter two. So yeah, so you really were traipsing, trooping.
Yes, 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 very much so. And honestly, I give it up to our cast, because everybody had a job, and our choreography getting there, unpacking the props, organizing the props. There was just as much choreography and blocking involved in making it like a seamless process than it was even being on stage. So that took a lot of
Yeah.
planning and a lot of
What
organizing.
what was the hardest part about it all? The planning or the execution?
I would say moving through the crowd was pretty hard. I mean, we had a cast of 20, right? We had a
Right.
cast of 20. We had four huge speaker systems with us moving through the crowd. And then also, I think the heat was pretty tough. I mean, especially on the guys that were in full prosthetics. I mean, our Andorian zombies, or not Andorian zombies, our zombies were in the chair for 2.5 hours to get those looks on them. And so they were in cloaks and all of just like the zombie stuff. And I don't know how they did it in that sun beating down on them, but I would say the heat was tough. But like the energy from the crowd, and what I discovered, and what we all discovered, all of us walking through the crowd, was like there's like this instant sense of family with other Trekkies. Like I hadn't really experienced that before, and just like walking through and everyone's throwing up the sign, and like I, it was just, you felt like immediately at home because of everyone that loves Star Trek too. And what I loved most about it, about the fan base, was just seeing the multi generations
Mhm.
of the lovers of Star Trek. Is just like the most unique. It's the most unique fan base that I've ever seen or experienced, because there's just, what other fan base has people who truly love it, from of all ages and all generations. It was just the coolest. I can't say enough about the fan base. So I just
That's
love them.
that's awesome that you went there. Well, I years ago when I first started going to Comic Cons, because in the beginning I said 15 years ago, nearly 20 now, to San Diego, and with a friend dragging me, saying, I said, I'm not a comics person. They have everything, Larry. But talking to some of the vendors, not the big studio booths, but the vendors who sell merch from all different franchises.
Mhm.
For a long time, Star Trek was so underrepresented. And then with the 50th in 2016, and the corporation getting back, and then Star Trek coming back on small screen and all of that, it had a bigger and bigger footprint. Still not to rival the others, although everyone else seems to be shrinking and Star Trek seems to be growing. But dealers would tell me, just the retailers, I would say something about, oh, so what do you have from Star Trek? Or we'd talk Star Trek, and they would almost to a
Mhm.
person say, oh, the Star Trek fans are the nicest fans. And I would always think, well,
Oh,
that's the
yes.
DNA of Star Trek. you know,
Yes. It was so beautiful to discover that for myself, because I have to say, dance isn't always particularly received from like all types of fans. You know what I mean? Like dance is sometimes a little bit more of like an acquired taste to like sort of understand like, you know, the showmanship of it all. And when we first went out to our very first stop, I did have this like moment of like, oh my gosh, is this going to be well received? Like, are people going to like it? And as soon as the music started and as soon as we got going, it was like the fans were electric. It was just the energy was just like out of this world. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most fun I've ever had in my life. Like everyone was so into it. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And then for the rest of the day, I was just like, wow, Star Trek fans are the best fans ever. Like they really are.
And you can say that now from a position of having worked in several franchises and everything.
Yes.
That is very cool that was one of the total takeaways that you came with it. So you had one performance, and then two at the 3 different sites, 4 altogether.
Yes.
So is there any way to rate them, or is that like ranking your kids?
Yeah, it is. It is kind of like ranking my kids, but I would say, you know, the first couple that were at 5th and K with that backdrop. I mean, you drove into San Diego Comic-Con and you saw, you know, that huge billboard. I mean, it was just like prime spot. So having that in the background was just really cool. But then I think Paramount Plus Lodge, I mean, that energy of just getting everybody involved, everyone from, you know, all fans, everybody was there. That was really fun. And also like, you know, the talent of the show. I mean, from my experience, the talent from shows that I've worked with aren't always like super enthusiastic about stuff. Like they're okay, but the actors and the talent that came to watch us, I mean,
the actual series cast that was
there. They were like, they were feeling it, and it was just so rewarding to see that. I mean, obviously they love this IP, they love their show, and to feel that reciprocation about what we created was just a gift, you know. And we love the talent, but I love the fans. I think that, I mean, that's who we did this for, obviously. But it was just great to get that little like, oh, yay, they liked it too.
Well, like I said, I had video of the first performance at Paramount Lodge, and then I was going to take stills, and then when I realized they were bringing Akiva and Henry Alonzo Myers, the 2 showrunners, were with them. It was basically the people who'd been on Hall H and had come over. Or they were brought over. I'm sure it was the full day, the corporate day of promoting the show, and wasn't expecting that. I didn't. Did you all know they were going to do that?
There was a chance. So there's always a chance. There was like, oh, they might show up, but we didn't know that they were literally going to be front and center, you know, first line in, just right up. Like I did a lift and I was like, my leg was going up, and you know, they were right there, like, yeah. It was crazy.
Well, they did, and I think it was saying, I don't know if it was for the Wham song or one other one, but they did. I know Chrissy and Jess jumped out and did a little bit of, you know, jitterbugging with everybody, which must have been, like you said, I get it that you said you did it for the fans and all of that. I was just going to ask you, I know you said you did the show for the fans, and obviously it went out, you ticked that box. And I think I don't know, we may have made some fans that day, because especially on the second performance, I think the first one at Paramount brought people came to see it. And the second one felt like a lot of those people, the hardcore, I'll say, left. And because, well, I've seen it once, and some may have stuck around, but felt like the second one was more random, just Comic-Con people who happened to be right there in the street. But so I know you said it was for them, but did you have any interactions between Ethan Peck or Jess Bush or Chrissy or any of the cast who were, Paul Wesley was there, with their counterparts in the performance? Did they come and talk after? I thought I saw a little bit of that happening.
Yes. There was some Spock to Spock interaction, which was really fun. They were dancing around. They were with us. Like they were in it. I was not expecting that at all, which was really fun. But definitely there was a really fun interaction between Spock and Spock, which I really
like
loved.
You said, I mean,
just that
it was kind of the way it was. They brought them out last. I remember, and I was standing in that front row, and I was all about getting pictures and recording it. I mean, I'd seen it once now, so the second show I was really going to be about getting good shots. And then they backed us up some more. And I was like, oh my God, what is this now? And then I went, oh, that's why. They had to get them in and still give you all clearance, for everything. So for them to leave, they had to walk through. It's like two teams going off a football field having to cross each other's paths. Only this time there were no fights broke out. But anyway, it was just a sweet moment. I could tell. And so like I told you, my first instinct, my reporters had kicked in, and I said, oh my gosh. And in the back of my mind, I went, this was all anonymous. Maybe in some of the press mentions, it's quote, it's attributing JFI. But there were no names, no program, no performers' names. Maybe somewhere there was, but for the people right there in the street and for all those videos that were going to go viral and all the pictures, no one knew any names. And I just wanted to at least get a contact to follow up. And the first person I talked to was you.
I know, that was so fun. No, and honestly, Larry, I have to give you so much props because to have one of the first people come up to me after the show and say, who's the choreographer? That means so much, especially for my craft and what I do, to have that acknowledged and what it takes to truly put movement and create a showcase like that. So thank you so much for even noticing the choreography and for saying hi. I mean, that shows that you're a real showman too.
Well, like I said, I just felt badly because I didn't know. I knew that basically at the root, this was the studio going and hiring a third party to come in and do a thing. And if there hadn't been any big, pre-publicity about it, I was worried that there would be any afterwards. And part of me is being selfish, and I'm thinking, well, this would be good. This would be a good guest to have. But also, it's also about recording the big and the small of Star Trek for posterity. And again, I was also turned. I was so blown away from not expecting anything to going, oh my God. And I could tell how much time and attention and time went into this. And I hope, anyway, so that was what was behind that. I'm so glad I found you on First Dibs and we got connected. I hope you got good feedback from the studio, from fans. I mean, were you able to measure reaction, your bosses, your hireds, but also the fans in general or on social media or anything like that? Or have you been able to tell?
Oh, we have gotten amazing reactions to it. I think they said it was their most successful activation, and luckily, it's such a beautiful thing to also be able to showcase, 25 artists, dancers, actors. I mean, those are the people who right now are, needing work and needing these opportunities. And so Ryan Brockington, who is the creative director over at CBS Studios Paramount Plus, he is such a champion of this type of theater. He's a theater kid himself at heart. And so him and his trust in us and championing this type of work really gave it the platform that it deserves. And honestly, just having the Star Trek IP behind us, I feel like I was turned into a Star Trek fan. I mean, I knew Star Trek.
Who doesn't know Kirk and Spock or whatever?
Right.
Yeah.
But this turned me. And so that was something that was important to me, was making sure that I created more fans as well, right? Like I wanted to turn people that maybe didn't know that they were Star Trek fans into Star Trek fans. And so that was really important. And luckily being able to do it through dance and comedy and drama and romance. I mean, we had a fan, Mary Spock. I mean, it was amazing. Like
that was different. She was the bride at Petco, I think. But where did that come from that you had prearranged it? You pre-selected somebody somehow to do a bride at the fake wedding or whatever. But how did that come about? How did that get into the plan? And how did you carry that off? How did you pick someone?
Yes. So what we specialize is immersive. And immersive means we want to pull audience with us. We want them to be in it with us. We want them to feel like they are in the show or in the world. And we were thinking, okay, how can we bring a fan on and just sort of force them to be a part of this? And luckily, so one of our production managers and one of our performers with us, Nick Murphy, he would go out into the audience and he would sort of vet someone to come marry Spock. So he's like, I'll come and get you when the time comes, but you're going to going to marry Spock. And luckily every time we had people, like raising their hands left and right. And so that was just like a fun little token and a takeaway that they could have, the flower crown and then throw the bouquet, and another fan could get a fun takeaway. So it was fun.
And it's such a surprise to people too. So I hope, so it sounds like you had good notes, good feedback from CBS Paramount about it.
Yes. They loved it, and it was great because another one of our contacts there, and he's a Star Trek guy, and so we're like I said before, we're trying to speak each other's languages, and then he came to the studio to watch a rehearsal, and it was such a big compliment because he was like, I didn't really know what this was going to be like, but it's really cool, and I'm like, yes. So that felt really good.
Common perception. I feel like I'm in a good club then. Yay. Like, well, nothing against you all personally. I had no idea who was doing this. I was just like, what is this going to be? I thought this sounds like something some think tank came up with that, but it was much better than that. Have you been able to assess either in the moment, because the show with the cast, the performance with the cast, the actual cast, when they left, that was your last performance, right? So were you able to access anything from the fans? You talked about the general vibe, which a performer could pick up, but or watching social media later, did you have any interactions or feedback?
Yes, we had a couple fans come to us and send us directly the video of the performance. So they were like airdropping photos. We had kids coming up to us. There was this little girl who kept on coming up and wanting pictures with me. I mean, we felt like we were celebrities. It was so fun. And then people were tagging us on Instagram and on YouTube. So if you dive in, you can see some good footage of it.
Is there any, and one of the first things that hit me was, I know the well for this has dried up a little bit, and there's been, all the changeover at the mothership at Paramount now, and things are a little bit, whatever. I was glad that they were able to make a commitment like this and stick with it from the timing wise. But has anybody acted like, either for the rest of the year, this performance, or maybe something different in the future, that they might have you do this again?
That's a great question. I think that the creative team over at Paramount Plus and CBS, they are constantly trying to push the boundaries of entertainment and bringing their fans new ways to engage with their IP. And I think this really did open up a new avenue for this type of performance.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, wow. I mean, my background is in I worked on cruise ships, and I was a director for shows on cruise ships. So a lot of times, those shows have the medley, like the little taste of everything, a little something for everyone. So that was really the inspiration. So if there are more shows like that can come out, I sign me up.
Well, the only thing they license now as an event is the cruise that they do with ECP now. So I may be too premature. I know next year's is all budgeted and committed out, but who knows? Who knows down the line?
We'll take it to the high seas. Let's go.
Listen, Stephanie, thank you so much for doing this. Again, I guess we covered all the bases, maybe even some future ones. Question mark.
Yes, Larry, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. You're such a champion of this work. I appreciate you. I see you.
Good. Well, I'm just like, things should be explained, things should be recorded, things should be told, and most of all, things should get the proper credit they were due. So is there a list of all the performers somewhere published?
I would be happy to provide that for anyone who would like to know the cast list. It was such a surprise type of performance that we wanted to just keep it just like super fresh and organic. So happy to share.
Email me that, I will post it with the YouTube, and it'll be, we might even get it on a credit in the video. But
would love that. Yes,
that's
I will
only
send
fair.
over.
And here's Ian saying, Stephanie's been an awesome class. Thank you, Stephanie. There
Thank
you go.
You.
Okay, Stephanie, thanks so much.
Thanks, Larry.
Bye-bye. Okay, everybody. How about that? I was plotting that from the beginning of the end of the performance. And once I knew that she was on board, and once my suspicions were correct, that all of what we just talked about was just going to go down a rat hole somewhere. And I knew she would be perfect. And thanks to her for giving all those other shout outs. We could have easily had 5 people on here, probably all talking about putting this together, and some of the performers. But kudos to CBS and Paramount for doing a great job of covering this. I didn't feel like my video or any of the fan videos had to do the job, although people had a lot of fun. And people had a lot of fun in the moment experiencing it. And I know we have buzzwords. There are times when the marketing buzzwords just kill me. Things like pop-up and installations, those kinds of things. And I go, oh, it's a display. It's a static display you can take photos with. That's a pop-up. That's an installation. And this was a lot more than this. But most of all, it wasn't just generic people doing a Star Trek thing, as Stephanie indicated there. There were a lot of fans within, and they had good supervision from the studio. And as much as people love to knock, the studio, the Paramount or CBS or whatever, it may not always transcend like the people when we think about it in terms of the people controlling what we get on our screen, the basic product, right? And I'll say product here. But there are all those ancillary moments, licensing and events and creative like this and creative promotion. And there are so many other ways that Star Trek can touch the audience. And if the IP holder, if the studio is smart, and if it's a time when they have budget, and if it's a time when they have the right people in the right place, like, oh my God, we had JVC, John Van Sitters, in his place. And now he's over in global promotion, but all the years in licensing and Marion in licensing. The people have really long longevity. And even not at the studio. I finally got to meet Heather Antos, who's done the editing of the IDW Star Trek comics for 12 years. You think about all the chaos within and without the industry in culture, much less at Paramount. Anybody that's had a job that long who loves the IP, they love Star Trek, they've been privileged and lucky, and just fate has allowed them to have the job. When we have moments of getting good product, whether it's merchandising, licensing, or it's events, or even things like this. This was technically a promotional bit. But I was just blown away, expecting nothing, not about the individual performers and the creativity, but just like, what were they paid? What was the budget? How big is the scope of this? What were they asked to do? What did the people hiring it out? What did they care to have? Were they happy with this much, or did they demand this much? What was going on? Did the people performing give us 10 times more than they were paid for because they're secretly There's just so many wrinkles to that. And I was so blown away by the dance, as were almost anyone there who was watching. And I think plenty of not the biggest Star Trek fans in the world were enthralled. And it was a street pop-up dance. And like she said, it was 12 minutes. Didn't take you all day. Long enough to pull you in and see what was coming next. And it was so clever, as you see if you watch the video. And then to watch the cast reactions there that day. Anyway, it was a moment that I knew could not be recreated without a lot of extra help and work and budget. But I knew enough fans had gotten snippets of the video, if not the whole thing. I knew it wouldn't be lost forever, but I knew there was so much more to talk about, as I said. And all the people that worked on it did not deserve to be just another third-party hire by the studio for promotion. So I was so thrilled to find Steffi. I was so thrilled she could come on with us. I know it was a thrill for her. They have other jobs. They do other work. Their company members have to do other jobs. As she said, they're all performers, and it's not like any of them are, they'd love to, but it's like I'm sure they're all waiters, or they're bartenders, or they're teaching, or they're doing something else. They're walking dogs, but they live for those moments when they can be creators and performers, and to have had the input, not just to perform it, but to create that and bring it out. And that's why I'm so glad that so many fans got to see it. But in our modern world, where everyone's got a production studio on their iPhone, that it got preserved as well as it did. So anyway, that was awesome. Gang, I think we're going to end it there. Things going on in the Star Trek world we'll get to next week, but assuming everybody has seen the things that are settling in with the big picture, congratulations to Lower Decks and the Lower Decks book for winning Hugo Awards in the last week. That's been a thing. Congratulations to Mike and everybody for winning a Hugo Award. It was technically the finale, but the show finale First time that's happened, that Star Trek's won a Hugo since All Good Things 31 years ago. Can you believe that? Of course, there was no Star Trek Hugo worthy for so long. But congratulations on that. The new franchise owners, all the new owners at Paramount, are focused on Star Trek as one of their 2 or 3 big IP. Yay. The movies are on track. It'll be interesting to finally see them happen and then tell their 10-year damn long stories, maybe. And the question marks about what's happening with the small screen. If there even is someone, if they even bother to have, or they let it rest. If they don't replace Alex Kurtzman, they just let the thing go for a while. Anyway, we're starting to get the very first inklings of answers on that. We've gone from everybody being meh a few months ago to some excitement back in the air, and that's interesting. And of course, the things we knew about Starfleet Academy coming next year, strange new happening, generating debate. I just want to remind you that my second opinion is out every week. It's generally on Saturday or Sunday. We let the dust settle on all the first takes, so you get a second opinion from Dr. Trek. And a lot of it is hopefully points and angles that you haven't heard anybody bring up, just because Trekland and Dr. Trek and going back in the day for 40, 50 years. Ooh, did I say that? I said that. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for us. Please, 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 thank you for being here today. And I hope you joined in and jumped in and got a question in there for Stephanie while we had her. Hope you did that. But most of all, of course, I got to thank my TTLers, right? Chuck A, thanks for getting to meet you. And I'm glad health is going your way now, Chuck. And we got to see you at Vegas. Also, James Kerwin, Diana Hopkins, Halbeard Gunn Johnson, Lawrence Todd, Chris Jiggins, Justin Weir, Andrew Jasinski, Josh Patton, Pranakasha Productions. Good to see you at Vegas. Keith Rombach and Comedy Forecast. And then our live wires, Rob McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Brandon Coles, excuse me, Brandon, Dan Leckie, Dave Gregory, Chris Garris, and Casey Shafsky. Good to see the last 3 there at Vegas, too. And I'm going to leave in somebody else. Oh, I'm not. Oh, JR, maybe. Okay. All of you folks, listen, I really appreciate it, to be serious here. The Patreon it's not much, but it gives me a little lifeline. I appreciate everybody being there. $5 a month or $10, patreon.com/TreklandLive. I may have a little surprise perk for everybody, aside from finally getting out of the backstage interviews from early on. I do want to remind everybody, and I've got some news that's coming. First off, yes, it's the time of year you can join me for Trekland Treks, a day tour of location sites you want to visit from all the LA-based shows that filmed here. That includes all the Elder shows, plus Picard, thanks to Sir Patrick, was filmed in Greater LA. There's over 50 sites, the famous and the infamous. So get with me when you know a day that you'll be in town that you have free, business or vacation, either way, and we will cook up your own customized away mission. TreklandTreks.com, or just come over to LarryNemecek.com and follow the links. And yes, the news we're going to be breaking soon, but I'll just whisper it to you because we launched it at Vegas. It's been 10 years. We've had a couple of false starts and a pandemic or two. But Geek Nation Tours, my friend Terrace Cassidy and I, for the 60th anniversary, which people are getting ramped up for, that should be a topic coming up soon. We are offering the big Geek Nation Tours tour again with some tweaks, including more guest celebrities added, 1 a day at least. And that's coming up the week before Vegas again. So you can start in LA, go to me guiding you, regular tour bus, a large group. We have to have at least 10. We cannot have more than 18. So it will be small and intimate, yet a lot of fun. A lot of folks have been with us in the past, but it's been 10 years since we've done this. So we're going to be talking more about that in the coming weeks. I'll have better graphics. But if you saw us at Vegas, we had the banner, we had the cards, we had the everything, but the last couple of guests have been finalized. So can't wait to talk more about that. And probably one of these Tuesdays, I will have Terrace on with me from Canada, and we'll talk all about the tour. and the one-day Valley of Fire tour out with finally, we just confirmed it, I mean, barring last-minute issues, but Mike Westmore is finally going to go out with us to the Valley of Fire. We wanted to for years, and for some reason, Face Off was always doing its finale episode the week of Vegas, and he couldn't. He could barely get away to come out and do Vegas on Saturday, much less a few days early, which is when we would have needed him for the Valley of Fire, because of generations. One of the last 4 or 5 humans to be in the film crew to film the last of that, much less everything leading in. So very excited that Geek Nation Tour and our Hollywood to Vegas tour, the hashtag LA to STLV, is coming back in a big way, and also a budget-minded way. We've found ways to cut some corners without cutting the quality or the fun, and yet add the actors in too. So that's coming along. I know the Valley of Fire tour is up at the geeknationtours.com site. The main tour is almost ready to go, and we'll let you know when that's happening. Woof! Of course, the Trek Files is on hiatus right now. We'll be back in a few weeks, so it's a perfect time to go back and check out some of the 13 seasons of shows. You can go to any of these sites. Podcast.roddenberry.com gets you to all the Roddenberry podcasts. TheTrekFiles.com is our new home at Memory Alpha, with the player, the document of the week, and the easily scrollable catalog, the database, with all the hot links for our guests and our documents and all our topics. So yay, thank you, Memory Alpha, for being with us now. It's been over a year since we've done that. And we have a great lineup coming back on the Trek Files too. Gang, Second Opinion is out. Someday I'm going to get a card for it. I'd love for you to go over. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. Otherwise, it's still Larry Nemecek on X, Twitter, and Blue Sky. Smiling at me. Yep. Larry's Trekland on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget, I am way behind on posting my con pics. I'm going to try to get that done this week. They keep cranking out these new Strange New World episodes. Portal47.net is Portal47, your backstage guide to all things Star Trek backstage. Everything on the inside, that's what we try to bring. And occasionally, I can bring you a little inside Star Trek from a tangent to Trekland Tuesdays Live like this. The deep dives, the guests for 2 hours you never otherwise get to hear from, and you can talk directly with them, question them early. That's Portal 47. Portal 47 is your mini-con all year long, no matter where your center seat is. And yeah, we have events for the Europeans as well as the Americans. Gang, we're going to close it there. I'm so glad to have everybody with me. I love it when we have a guest, especially one like Stephanie, talking about a story that no one else is talking about. So yeah, that was an exclusive. Take that, rest of Trek World Online. Everybody, thanks so much for being with us today. And yes, check out everything at LarryNemecek.com. Don't forget to watch Second Opinion and share it with everybody while there's fresh Trek coming out. The new one just popped Sunday night for last week's episode. And there'll be a new one this week. I watched the episode last night trying to get ahead of things. So as we move through the rest of Strange New Worlds and this strange new universe for Trek, we'll see what happens, gang. So please stay healthy, do all the things. Please stay woke, check your sources. Don't fall for the fake stuff. And Trek well, everybody.